Hey guys, it's me, Professor STARSTAR. So, I'm not sure if y'all know this, but for the past months, I've been getting many requests to cover a series called Fritz Lore, aka Lagoon Lore, and I feel like it's time we cover it. Why? Because I run out of things that I want to cover in terms of lore. Oh, and just so you know, I'm covering everything up to the forest episode. Why? Because that's the latest episode at the time I'm writing the script, and explaining everything until then makes everything easier. Anyway, let's get into it. Wow. I was talking very fast. So, what is Fritz Lore? Well, it's a series created by a fan of mine named Fritz. So, shout out to him because he made the series. So here's where a problem arises. The creator of the series and the main character share the same name, as you just saw. So, for the rest of the video, I'll be referring to Fritz, I'm the one who created the show as the creator. Anyway, this series follows our main character Fritz go on various adventures. Sometimes with his friend named Daniel who from this point on I'm just gonna call Dan. So the lore apparently begins before the main animated series itself. Why, you may ask? Because the creator actually made a lore video before this one, so it kind of helped me. But just so you know, this part is pretty short. Anyway, before the main series starts, Fritz starts out as a 16-year-old who was pretty nice and had annoying friends. One day, he went on a boat, but something bad happened on the boat. I'm not sure what bad thing happened because it wasn't stated in the lore video, but apparently Fritz and the captain of the boat were the only ones who survived. So the captain adopted Fritz, which I guess his parents died on the boat? That's kind of sad, actually. Anyways, when Fritz turns 19, he becomes the captain of the boat. Oh, and he also loses his right arm. Okay, so now we get to what I'm pretty sure the main series starts, aka Pirated Fritz. However, you may be wondering why we're talking about Pirated Fritz before the actual start of the series. Well, I'm glad you asked. It's because the creator mentions in his lore video that Fritz accidentally throws a VIP key into the water before the Siren Head arc, which I'll get into later. And guess what? The VIP key incident happens in Pirated Fritz. So if we're watching all the episodes in order of the Fritz timeline, Pirated Fritz is the first episode that happens. So, of course, we're talking about the episode Pirated Fritz first. So, what happens in Pirated Fritz? Well, it takes place on the captain's boat, and many things happen. For instance, Fritz accidentally throws the VIP key, as stated before, and also a whole fire starts. Crazy, I know. Fritz is also challenged to a gun duel by some random guy, and obviously Fritz wins because he's the main character. And near the end of the episode, Fritz and the captain go find the key that Fritz accidentally dropped. And that's basically everything that happens in Pirated Fritz. So, what's next in our timeline? Well, what happens next is Fritz one day leaves the ship and becomes a ninja, which honestly sounds cool, and I'd like to see an animated episode of that because we haven't seen one yet, and it was only mentioned in the creator's lore video. Anyway, a few years later, Fritz moves to Arizona, and this, my friends, is where the series truly starts, aka the Siren Head arc. So, what happens in the Siren Head arc? Well, I'm glad you asked. I mean, did you really ask, though? I don't know. I'm just talking star on screen, rambling about random stuff. How am I supposed to know? Anyway, the first episode of the Siren Head part of the series starts off with Fritz listening to the radio. On the radio is this warning about Siren Head. If you don't know what Siren Head is, it's this, creature thing that has a siren for a head, and it's spooky. Anyway, Fritz hears something outside and thinks it's a generator, so he checks on it. However, Siren Head appears and hurts Fritz, so Fritz runs away and finds this arm thing. I honestly don't really know what it is, but he puts it on and gets hurt by Siren Head again. Fritz then gets into a car of some sort and drives away. Then, in the next episode of the Siren Head arc, apparently there's a car crash and Fritz gets hurt. Again. Anyway, he finds this hiking trail and travels down it. Then, Siren Head finds him again and hurts him again. So, Fritz is finally taken to the hospital. But while in the hospital, Siren Head appears again and hurts one of the doctors. Yeah, Siren Head over here really has something against Fritz. So anyway, while Siren Head was busy attacking one of the doctors, Fritz gets that doctor's phone and Yeah, apparently the FNAF in the Fritz lore happened in the same universe, and apparently Purple Guy and Fritz know each other. And no, I will not explain the FNAF lore ever, because there's simply too much of it. Anyway, from what I can tell, Purple Guy just heals Fritz because, as stated before, the doctor got mauled by Siren Head, and after that he leaves and never returns. Anyway, Fritz checks behind the blinds and, oh no, more people are getting attacked. Then episode 3 happens. In this episode, some guy gives Fritz headphones so he can't be attacked by Siren Head. Well, Siren Head does have a siren for a head, so I guess that makes sense, but suddenly this lamp guy appears and severely injures Fritz. Yeah, I have no idea who this is. Is he supposed to be like Lamphead or something? I don't know. Then Fritz gets into this plane thing with 2 random people on it and drives the plane. So, actually, I have a theory that I'd like to share. It's not, like, too crazy, but it's just a thought. And it's, like, is Fritz immortal? Like, because, like, how did he survive that many injuries and is still able to drive? To be honest, it might not exactly be immortality, but it may also be, like, self-healing or something. I'm not too sure. So anyway, a fire happens on the plane, and they crash land at a prison. Then the episode ends. Now, moving on to the next episode, all of a sudden Siren Head appears once again and kills one of the random guys. So Fritz and the other random guy run away while the Siren Head chases them. Then they enter the prison and free some guy for who knows what reason. Then the random guy Fritz was running with presumably dies. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Anyway, they end up on an island because apparently the plane works now, and the criminal finds an axe and uses it to cut a tree and make a boat. Then for some reason they fall into another island, the criminal dies, and Fritz escapes. And apparently after that, aliens capture and torture him. Anyway, that's just the end of the Siren Head arc. That was something. Yep. It sure was. Anyway, after the Siren Head series, there's Revenge of the Zombies, Nobody Survives the Pizzeria, and X Marks the Spot. And there's also Zom C, Revengeance, and Forest. So that's interesting. Also, side note, I won't be covering Nobody Survives and Revenge of the Zombies because the creator told me it was just a test. Also, I won't be covering X Marks the Spot because unfortunately I could not find it anywhere on his channel. So anyway, the Hell Saga. This part of the series starts off with Fritz going to his house along with Dan. Apparently, Dan and Fritz are bored, so they call Dan's friend Nick to come over. Apparently, Nick suggests that he, Dan, and Fritz go to hell, as we all do when we're bored. So they try going there by digging straight down, but that doesn't work, so instead Nick finds this thing that claims to have tickets to hell. So one day later, they get on this plane thing that is supposed to take them to hell, and, well, that's exactly where they go. So after that, they find this temple thing that has treasure and artifacts and stuff, so they steal this stuff. But then a bunch of guards come in and take them to a jail cell. But luckily, Nick hid one of the artifacts in his shoe, and it helps them escape. Anyway, they escape the jail cell, and they find out that apparently they have a wanted poster of them. So now they have to hide, and they decide to hide in a dumpster. A few minutes later, they enter a lab and find a portal that apparently leads to heaven, but it doesn't work. Then, oh no, somebody is about to enter the lab. So Fritz and company hide in a cabinet, but then they were found and were kicked out of the lab. So they had to hide in the rusty old dumpster again. So they wait until night until nobody's out anymore, and they enter the lab again, where they activate the portal using the potions in the lab, and then get into heaven. After that, they ask some random angel to fly them back to Earth, and that's exactly what happens. And after that, they all play a nice game of Uno, and that's the end of the Hell Saga. So, let's talk about Zom C Revengeance. Not to be confused with Revenge of the Zombies. So it starts off in Fritz's house, where Fritz and Dan are playing some sort of game that involves money. I'm not sure what game. I am sorry. I am not cultured in terms of card games that involve money, so yeah, bear with me. Anyway, someone knocks on the door and it happens to be Nick. Yay! Why is Nick here, you may ask? Because our main gang are going to America. Because they live in Australia, not America. Yeah. Anyway, on the way to the airport, their car is shot by some guy, but luckily they make it to the airplane. Anyway, after they get on the plane and start flying, apparently there's now a zombie on the plane, from what I can tell. Anyway, because of that, Fritz and Dan and Nick are going to evacuate the plane. So they do, using parachutes. And they land in the mall and, oh no, Nick gets taken by a zombie. Rest in peace, Nick. You are a good person. So, at the mall, Dan gets a new purple sweater and apparently there's a weapon of sorts in the sweater. So, Dan used it to fight the zombies. Then suddenly Dan gets kidnapped by this guy, but luckily gets saved by Fritz. Then Dan and Fritz find out what I'm pretty sure is a church, so they go in the church and stay there. Oh, and also, Dan's hair becomes purple for some reason. Anyway, after that, they go and find a gas station, and Dan changes his hair back from purple to green and takes off his purple sweater, so now it's also back to being green. They also find weapons in the gas station and use it to fight more zombies. Anyway, Fritz suddenly gets stabbed in the chest and is sent to the hospital. Luckily, he survives, and suddenly there's this guy that has a gun thingy called the Zombie Killer, and it basically wipes out all the zombies. And after that's all over, Fritz and Dan head back to Australia, and that's it. After that, there's the pizzeria episode in which Purple Guy and Fritz meet once again. Finally. Anyway, Purple Guy invites Fritz and Dan to his pizzeria, and Fritz and Dan go there, and then they leave scared because of the animatronics. Now, it's finally time to talk about Forrest. The last episode we'll be discussing in this video. So, here it is. The video starts in Fritz's house, as per usual. Dan's voice changes, which is cool, I guess, and he gives Fritz a gift. Inside the gift is a black trench coat, which I assume Fritz will be wearing for the rest of the series. Anyway, a few minutes later, Dan gives Fritz another gift. Apparently, it's a guitar that Fritz happens to know how to play immediately. After that, apparently they see something on the TV, and oh boy, it looks like there's something creepy near their area, so they go get weapons, but all of a sudden, the creepy thing breaks down the door, and they have no choice but to run. Luckily, they manage to kill the creepy thing, and that's the end of the episode. Now, since we've talked about everything we need to talk about, it's time for my final thoughts and my criticisms. My only criticisms of Fritz lore are how it can be a little hard to understand sometimes and how it can look, a bit inconsistent sometimes. Is that the right word? Anyway, let's start with the first critique, which is that it's a little harder for me to understand at times, to be honest. The lore video the creator made really helped me try to, decipher what was happening, if I'm being honest here. It might just be me who has the issue. I'm not really sure, so it might not really apply to everyone who watches it. I've also observed that it's really only the older episodes that have this problem and not the newer ones, which is good. That means, we're improving, you know? Anyway, my second critique was that, it can look a little inconsistent sometimes. And what I mean is that, in one scene in the same episode, this is what Fritz looks like. And in the other, Fritz looks like this. Pretty different, but I sort of have the same problem too. Here's a quick example of that. So what else do I think? Well, let me tell you, from what I've seen, the more and more the series goes on, the more things, improve. I've observed that the newer episodes and are more longer and feel, better than the older episodes. And hey, you may think the animation doesn't look good, but we all start somewhere. And what I just said, the more it goes on, the more it improves. So I think that this series definitely should continue. Another thing, I'm just kind of slipping this into here because I'm not sure where else to put it into the script, but I just want to mention that I actually helped with some of the episodes in terms of scripting. Pirated Fritz and the Hell Saga, to be specific, and let me tell you, helping script episodes for this series actually was pretty fun. Anyways, in conclusion, I like this series, you should watch it, and I'd like more of it. Well, that's all, I guess. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next vid. Bye!